Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from AnthonysCustoms, and for this review, we are looking at NECA's quarter-scale Spider-Man Homecoming Spider-Man figure, which is one that many of you guys have requested me review, so that's what we're doing. We're going to take a look at it. This thing does do a lot of things really well. There are a few things that aren't so great about it, but I think overall it's another win for NECA. It's probably not the strongest figure that they've released, but it's definitely going to be good enough, I think, for a lot of you Spider-Man fans. And it does come with a lot of accessories, so that's pretty cool too. So let's go ahead and get it off the stand and take a closer look. This guy stands just about 17.5 inches. I know it looks different in the camera, that's the perspective. That makes it just about 44 centimeters, pretty close to that. And so it's a little bit shorter than your average 6 foot tall character, and I think that's pretty much how it should be, so that's all right. Paint job on this guy is pretty good. You can see they did kind of a wash effect to get the web lines in there, and I think that's okay. The whole figure is textured, so you do pick up a little bit of detail here and there other than just the web lines. The black line work is painted pretty well throughout all of those areas. The belt little capsule thingies look pretty good. And then the blue line work throughout the legs and the sides of the torso. Very, very nicely done. That's surprisingly clean. I wasn't expecting it to be as clean as it is. So you can see it's just very nicely detailed. We do have a few spots here and there where we're missing a little bit of paint. You can see on the back spider there, it's not perfect, but overall it looks pretty good. They did a really nice job with the eyes. How they did that was it's translucent plastic with texturing in there, so they painted just the back of the translucent plastic white, and it gives it that kind of, clear with a thing behind it type of look, and then it's just black around the sides. And it looks really good, so I'm very pleased with that. So paint job's good. Sculpt overall is pretty solid. I do think the chest looks a little bit narrow compared to the waist. I think a lot of that has to do with the articulation, and you don't really notice it so much after a few minutes, and then once you get it posed, it's not too bad at all. But I think it would have been better if they just kind of popped his shoulders out just a little bit, because he does have a pretty broad shoulders for a relatively small person, so I think it's not perfect, but it's definitely going to be okay once you pose him up. If you're just going to stand him on the shelf in a neutral pose, definitely not probably the best option. That's my own 2 cents. As far as accessories go, we do have interchangeable heads. We have the normal masked head, obviously, and then we have the halfway unmasked head, which is a pretty good sculpt. The paint job on mine isn't the best. He's got some black smudges on his nose and chin, and a little bit of weird red coloring on his face, so it looks kind of like a rash. So that's unfortunate, but the sculpt is really nice. It's actually 2 separate pieces for the mask and the face, so that's really cool. And then the really cool thing about this guy is that the eyes are interchangeable. So you have the squinted eyes on the unmasked head and the normal eyes on the normal head. You can swap those around in any combination you like. It's a little bit of a pain in the ass to swap them, but it's not a big deal. So that's a really cool feature that they included. We have a bunch of different hands. We have the 2 fist hands that come on him in the package, 2 gripping hands, 2 thwipping hands, 2 relaxed hands, and 2 wide open hands, and they all do have a hinge in them. And then lastly, we have 2 web accessories, which look pretty cool, and those can peg into his web shooters. So that's a pretty nice touch. I don't know if we've had that yet where it looks so effective. I like that. It's pretty cool. Okay, now as far as the articulation on this guy goes, it's relatively basic. I mean, it's not really basic, I guess, but standard. So we have ball peg on top of the neck and at the bottom of the neck. So you can move the head around really well. I know the bottom one's a double. I'm not sure if the top one is because the neck comes off with the head for both heads. But that is a double ball peg neck and head combo. That is a great example of how it's supposed to work. You can really move this head however you want to, and it's not a big deal to pop these off and swap them around. They come off fairly easily, so really no issues there. Very, very well executed. For the shoulders, it's a little odd because it's our standard ball hinge, so you have the rotation here, but it's connected at just a slight angle into the back of the torso. So when you raise the arms, it comes out at just a little bit of an angle, which is kind of strange. I'm not sure why they did that. I'm not sure. Maybe they did it so you could bring the arms across the chest a little bit easier. Maybe. I'm not sure. But either way, you get the full range. They go up almost horizontally, not quite. That's a little bit of a bummer. You do have your bicep swivel. It's a little stiff, and because it's rather thin this way and wide this way, it doesn't rotate all that well, so that's kind of a bummer also. The double elbow joint works no problem, or at least it has. It's very stiff. For whatever reason, the upper elbow joints are very, very stiff. but they do work. So maybe just get a hairdryer or something and you'll be fine. But you get really good range out of that, so no issues at all there. Now, here's the thing about the Ab Crunch. It doesn't actually have all that much range, which is a little bit... It's a little disappointing. It's a little unfortunate. Also, it doesn't really fit together very well. There's kind of a lot of gapping going on. So you only get really one notch going back, which is almost no range at all. And then going forward, you get two very small notches. So just a little bit of range. It's really not that much. For as much as this looks mechanical, I was expecting a lot more range. I think for that little bit of range, it should have probably had a little bit of a cleaner sculpt. And then for the torso, I think there's a ball peg in there, but I can't really get it to do anything but kind of wobble around. I can't even get the waist to twist. And this clearly sits on top of this, so I don't know. That's a little bit strange to me also. Not sure what's going on there. For the hips are pretty much your standard quarter scale hips. Ratcheting all the way out to the side, pretty good range there. Ratcheting forward, no problem. The trunks do kind of flex. I think it might have been better to just take a little bit of the material away from that so that you have a little bit less flex, but it still does work. Bringing the legs back, you can go a little bit. I can't get it to go any farther, so not a whole lot. You do have a thigh swivel on each leg, so that's fine. Double jointed knee, just like the elbows, the lower joint works just fine. The upper joint, it's very, very stiff. But it does work, so you get really good range out of the knees. And then lastly, for the legs, we have our standard hinge. So you can bring the foot really far back, which is really, really good. And not so far forward, but you do get a toe hinge, which works pretty nicely. So it's pretty good. The last thing I want to talk about is the web shooter area on the arms. You can't actually move the web shooters, even though they're separate pieces. Don't try to move those. The whole forearm can rotate. However, on this side, it's stuck. I can't get it to move. On this side, it moves no problem. So I do like the fact that you can rotate the entire forearm and get the web shooter where you want it. So that's pretty cool. So ultimately, yeah, it's a pretty solid figure with some pretty irritating problems that I don't care for. I don't know if that's enough for me to say not to get it. I think if you're a Spider-Man fan, you're going to probably want it. It's a lot of fun to pose around, and once you do get it into a pose, it looks pretty good. But it's just got some issues that I really wasn't expecting it to have that it really probably shouldn't have. So those are definitely kind of annoying. But you're still getting a heck of a figure for the price point, so I can't say I don't recommend it. Just be aware of those issues, and you're going to have to decide for yourself, I guess. So there you go. Thanks for watching, guys. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. I have new videos up every single day. We talk about action figures, movies, TV shows, video games, all kinds of fun stuff. So make sure you come back for that. Give the video a thumbs up if you liked it. And in the meantime, keep collecting.